Whether you're looking for a house to love or just loving the home you're in, you found the place. This is Open House with Sharon Caddy. Tackling the task of organizing, I have Suzanne Perrett, who's a professional organizer with Organize My Chaos. Hey, Suzanne.
Hi, Sharon. Thank you.
Oh, wow. It's funny. Before we got started today, I was saying if I could show you around this room that I'm sitting in, that in this little, we're actually doing this on video too, and this little shot, I look so organized, but my room here is not organized right now. It would probably give you like nightmares, but um, organization is something that I think we could all use a little bit more of in our life. But I'm curious, what brought you to become a professional organizer?
Fun story. I've actually been organizing since I was a child. So probably about 7 years old. I started with my mom's spices, organizing them. My dad had a hobby room in our basement. I was organizing that. My parents are like, she must have done something wrong. Why is she being so good? But I literally had something in me that was driving me to organize these spaces. And in university, I would go to my friends' apartments or dorm rooms, and we'd just be hanging out, and I'd be looking at stuff going, I need to organize this. And I would just get up spontaneously and organize things for them. So I kind of became known as the organizer. And when I moved to Toronto, I'm originally from the East Coast. When I moved to Toronto in 2001, I realized, there's a market for this. I can actually do this as a business. And that's when Organize My Chaos was opened. So 13 years now, still going strong. So
Wow.
love it. Yes.
Amazing. So I've always been curious though, because I mean, I think the idea of bringing in someone like yourself, a professional organizer, is a fabulous idea because all of us are a little intimidated by taking things on. Like there's so many levels to this. Um, but even when someone gets past all their fears and everything and contacts you, what do you find that initial meeting to be like? Is there still that nervousness, or are they intimidated? Are they afraid? What do you come up against when you meet someone who's a client?
So typically it starts with a phone call or email, and I will, if typically, even if they email me, I'll give them a call. And a lot of times there's a lot of sense of shame or embarrassment. I don't want you to come over. I don't want you to see my stuff. I'm embarrassed I got to this point.
Mhm.
And it's my job as an organizer to kind of calm their nerves and say, what, we got this. Like, it's going to be good. The most difficult part is actually picking up the phone and making the call to an organizer, I think. After
Mhm.
that, it's smooth sailing. But definitely no one wants to be judged for, the amount of stuff that they have.
Mhm.
And I think with the phone conversation, to kind of put them at ease, and they feel like I'm not going to come in and start throwing at all their stuff. It makes a big difference for them for sure.
I know we've all watched shows. I mean, I got to admit it. I'm addicted to. I watch shows like Hoarders, which is, I guess, worst case scenario. But
Yes.
I think even if we don't have that level of any of that, I know personally, I mean, my gosh, if my partner decides he needs something and it's in my purse, if I see him pick up my purse and go into my stuff, I kind
Mhm.
of lose it a little. Um,
Mhm.
is that something that once you're involved in organizing someone else's environment, does that come up from time to time throughout the process? Because I know no matter how hard I combat it, I think it would.
Yeah, I think definitely I want to make sure that the clients are on board with me coming over to their house. And there are times when someone will be like, can you organize my husband's stuff? I need to make sure that everyone's on board with that.
Mhm.
And when it comes to touching someone's stuff, I think there's definitely amount of respect. So, you are inviting me into your house and you're inviting me to touch your stuff. And I want to do that with respect. And, I think the other thing that makes people worried is she going to make me throw everything out? It's
Mhm.
definitely not the case. That's not what we're about. It's about going in and talking to people about what they have. And if they're willing to get rid of that item, then absolutely I'll help them with that process. But I'm not going to, walk in and start, this is going and this is going. It's not like that at all. So surprisingly, it's a very fun thing to do. And I think people will be shocked by that, but it's not that bad. So.
Yeah, I would think though that even people that are hesitant or are having difficulty at the top must feel great afterward.
I think they do. I've had clients that have actually cried at the end of the process because I'm not a surgeon, I'm not saving lives, but to make that difference in someone's life that they've had a lot of chaos or trauma in their life, and you've come in and you've, you know, organize things in a way that makes sense to them, and they feel so much more in power of their situation, because clutter causes stress, it
Mhm.
causes anxiety, it causes sickness, with dust cluttering up. And there's so many positives to getting organized. I think that once people feel that weight lifted off their shoulders, they are so much happier.
Have you found though, in the past couple of years since COVID and everybody spending so much more time indoors, that people have recognized the need to do this more?
I think people are going a little stir crazy. Obviously, at the height of the pandemic, when Home Depot, everyone was doing renos in their house, and people are realizing, oh my gosh, I've got all this stuff. And in actuality, it is just stuff. It's not the important things in life. It's not relationships. It's not your health. This stuff is replaceable. So I think when you're day in and day out looking at something, saying, oh my gosh, if I have to look at that one more time, or this mess one more time, I'm going to lose it. Then that's the time to call in the organizer.
I'd say for sure. Um, have you ever walked into a space and almost been overwhelmed to the point of like, it's almost impossible?
I've only had that situation happen once. And it was a pretty heartbreaking situation. This woman and her husband were going to be evicted from their home
Oh my gosh.
due to a severe hoarding situation.
Mm.
And, I came to the house and I was letting them know, we've got 3,000 square feet. And you've got about, 5,000 square feet. So like, there's just stuff to the ceiling. It's everywhere. It's insane. It was a really bad situation. And I was explaining to her, we literally have to, get rid of this stuff. There's a lot of stuff we have to, donate or sell or whatever. And she's like, no, 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 we'll just put up shelves.
Oh,
And I'm like, no, no, it
wow.
doesn't work that way. Right. And, she just was not, even though the fear of losing her home, she still couldn't get her head wrapped around the fact that, we would need to basically get a dumpster
Mhm.
and get rid of a lot of stuff that was, and honestly, it was a lot of just junk stuff. It wasn't even
Mhm.
prized possessions, let's say. So it was sad.
Wow. Wow. So even if we are not dealing with something to that magnitude, I mean,
Mm.
doing a home, whether it's a couple of rooms or the whole place, it's a big task. How do you decide a timeline? I mean, because there's so many things at play with
Mhm.
between dealing with personalities and
Mhm.
sentimentality and sheer volume of stuff. How do you know how long it takes to do, or how much time should someone give it?
Honestly, it depends on the person. It depends on the house. There's so many different situations. I've gone into some people's houses and they're immaculate. You open a cupboard, you open a drawer, you
Mm.
open the basement, and all of a sudden it's like, oh my gosh, like the job is going to be huge. So it really depends, and it also depends on how much hand holding a client needs. Some people are very much like, just show me what to do and give me some homework and I'm off and running, whereas other clients are like, I really need you here with me and to help me make these decisions. I'm not able to do it on my own. So usually I like to say to customers or my clients, let's do a 2-hour session. Let's
Mhm.
see how much we can get done in 2 hours, and we can take it from there. Right. So I work within people's budgets, you know.
Good. That's good.
Mm.
So do you find that generally speaking, it's something that you can sort of give them assignments and do some and then and in and out?
It's funny, I do give my clients homework, and I would say 90% of my clients I give homework to, I don't know if it's like this in real estate,
Yeah.
but I will say, okay, you know what, this is your homework. I need you to do this, this, and this. I come back, they're like, yeah, sorry, I didn't do anything.
Ah,
Um, so, I mean, it's great for me because I have a business, but I find, sometimes people need someone sitting on them to get things done.
that's true. I mean, kind of building on that idea, like, say you work with a client and the place is looking, it's great, and they're happy and everybody feels good.
Right.
I would think it's kind of human nature that a certain amount of that stuff over time is going to creep back in with new stuff. Um,
Right.
is this the kind of thing that you should, like, say I'm setting up at my year's calendar, and my year's calendar includes, I just had you in and my place is fabulous.
Right.
And should you do point checks? Should you have you come in every once in a while to check? Like, how should you maintain it?
Absolutely. I have the one in, one out rule. So I know it's great to go shopping and, go to Holt Renfrew and hit up some stuff. But guess what? There's stuff in your closet you've had for a really long time.
Mhm.
It needs to go. And one way to do that is actually to turn your hanger around the other side. So when you pull something out, you turn your hanger around, you've worn it. And you'll find, even during, COVID year, maybe not so much because we're all in track pants. But in a typical year, you're probably only wearing about 20% of your entire wardrobe. Right.
Mhm.
And if you keep bringing in, I've had clients, they have 3 closet fulls of clothes. And I'm like, oh my gosh, like this will last you for 10 years. Like you have to, what an outfit a day for 10 years. We really try to avoid that. I want people to live within, they have a bedroom closet and that's your bedroom closet. Let's not go crazy here, people. So
Yeah.
yeah.
I think you're right, though. We do tend, if you really stop, I've done this exercise myself. If you really stop and take a look at what you wear, to me, the test is what's coming through the laundry all the time. It's the same stuff
Of
coming
course.
back through the laundry all the time. So I know personally, I've gotten a lot better at, pulling stuff and going and acknowledging in my own mind that I still really like it. It's pretty. I haven't worn it in 4 years. It
Right.
is pretty. It's really nice, and I don't need
Yeah.
it anymore. I guess we all learn that at different times and for different reasons in our life, but I'm proud to say I've gotten better at that.
It's hard. It is tough because it's not just, obviously you can think with your mind, I haven't worn this, but your heart and your memories are attached to items of clothing. It's like, oh, I wore that when my boyfriend proposed, or, I had that when I found out I was pregnant.
Oh, I wore that
And
when I
so,
was a size 4.
yeah, and when I was a size 4, and I'm going to be a size 4 next week, and I will fit into this. So absolutely, we attach these memories and feelings to these items of clothing, and it makes it so much harder.
Mhm.
But I said to people who are holding on to that size 4, guess what? When you actually do get down to that size 4, the first thing you want to do is go shopping for new stuff,
That's true.
right?
That's a true
Reward
thing.
yourself for doing it.
That's a great way to look at it. Plus, if I get back to size 4, that stuff's not in style anymore.
Exactly. Exactly. That's right. That is correct. Yeah. But if you wait long enough, maybe it will be. I don't
It
know,
might
but
come back. Yeah, really. That's kind of a sad thing to think. Now, of course, I think it's great to get organized for day-to-day living because I think that the benefits are great, but a lot of the people who are going to be looking at it when it comes to my side of the business is when they're looking at selling their home. And this comes in 2 ways. One is just your average client looking to sell a home. And the other, I found, especially with the market being high and homes selling for more and more money, a lot of people who've reached that retirement age and they're either looking at moving into a retirement facility or maybe they're moving in with family. And suddenly they have to sell a home that they lived in for 40 or 50 years. And there's a lot of stuff. And I find sometimes there's there's a disconnect with, well, we can have this on the market in 2 weeks. Well, you really can't.
I know.
It's too hard. Like if someone's going to, how soon should they start thinking about clearing things out before they think about selling the house?
The biggest mistake people make is leaving it off to the last minute. That is
Oh, yeah.
I can't even tell you. Even for a realtor to come in to list the house, you have to have the house ready. So I would say as soon as you even have a thought in your head, I think I want to move. I'm in the process, I'm looking, start well and ahead, because a lot of times, I get calls, can you come tomorrow? Sometimes I can, and sometimes I can't. Just because like any business, you get busy. So I always advise people had well in advance, start thinking about the process. It's not going to take a couple of hours. I had had an estate sale that I was working on, and it was, the house had been built in 1969. They'd lived there since 1969, and it was literally peeling back. It was like a time warp of all this stuff, and it took forever to get through all this stuff. I can't stress it enough. Do it as soon as possible.
Yeah. So for people who are going through that, like you mentioned, there are ways to do estate sales. How can people that are looking at this think, how am I going to get rid of all this stuff? I don't want to throw it in the garbage. What are some of the outlets for getting.
Definitely. I always advise with my particular instant with the estate sale, I use Max Sold, and they basically came in and cataloged everything and sold it. And it was fantastic. It was easy. I didn't have literally, it didn't take me anything. It was a simple phone call to them. They did all the legwork and the stuff was gone in a day, which is amazing. But there's definitely getting someone else in to give you a hand is never a bad idea. Donating to your local homeless shelter, women's shelters. You might have a friend who just needs new dishes or something. I don't know. Case in point, there's always someone who's willing to take your stuff.
Yeah. So I guess that if you had like a Facebook, if you're within your own friends, I'll put it out to the world, but I mean, you could post on Facebook saying, hey, I've got these things, anybody want them?
For sure. Absolutely. And if you don't get any traction there, then do take it to, like, there's someone, if that coat is too small for you and haven't worn it, there's probably someone out there who really could use that, or that set of dishes, or that dining room table that they can't afford. So, definitely look at, I don't like to see anything go to a landfill, obviously. So that's really important. But if you have stuff that's truly damaged, it's not repairable. I used 1-800-GOT-JUNK. They were fabulous.
Yeah, I've used them before too. They're excellent.
Yeah, they're fabulous. And for all the little stuff that was like, oh my gosh, this is broken, I don't know why this is still here, it's not repairable, 1-800-GOT-JUNK, definitely.
Yeah. I find those estate sales interesting though, because I've seen with a number of different people who've used them and said, I had something in the house, like usually it's taking care of a parent's home or something that they're getting rid of things. Like, oh, I've seen this ugly stuff. I'm almost afraid to have someone come in, and they come in and they pray, and they get massive amounts of money because it's collectible, because we all relate to what we see in like HGTV magazine, Style at Home, and some of these unique things that, especially younger generation, but whatever, saying, oh, that's kind of gross and ugly.
There's a market.
Anything. Yeah,
absolutely. There's a market, especially antiques. There's a store in Toronto called Of Things Past. And they take a lot of antique furniture and dishes and whatnot. And it's surprising. There's some items you look at and you think, oh, I would just take this to Goodwill, and you find out you could make like hundreds of dollars on it. It's incredible, actually.
That's why Antiques Roadshow is still on the air.
That's right. Absolutely.
When people meet you and talk about what you do they ever like wonder if you're like Marie Kondo? I find the Marie Kondo thing really interesting, but I don't know, like personally, I'm not into the style, do you ever find people wondering if that's what
I have so many people ask me if I'm like Marie Kondo, and Marie Kondo is fantastic, but I am literally nothing like her. I feel very awkward asking someone if an item sparks joy. And I kind of make a joke of it sometimes. I'm like, does this item spark joy? It's just not my personality. I think I come across as maybe a little bit more, a little bit more carefree. And I'll have hard discussions with you, and I can be pretty frank with you about things, but it's all in a caring way. Like, people are like, you're tough, but you're good. And they don't feel intimidated by the process. Not saying Marie Kondo is intimidating, but it's just a different style. If you've ever watched The Home Edit, I would say the girls on that are probably more aligned with how I do my organizing. Just fun and carefree. Like, it's like a girlfriend coming over to have a coffee, and we're going to do some organizing. So it's very, very chill atmosphere.
Oh, wow. And before we wrap things up, I have one fun question. If you could pick the one thing, and let's speak generally across everybody whose home you've gone to, is there one place that the biggest offender in the house for where the most stuff gets cluttered in?
Oh my gosh. There's so many places. I would say any place that has a door that can be closed and is not, something that people use all the time. Junk room. Typically anything that doesn't have a home seems to end up in there. So garages, storage rooms. I've seen some pretty gnarly offices with a bunch of stuff. So yeah, anything you can kind of shut a door on, you'll be surprised what you can find in there.
Well, I think we're still at the beginning of the year. It's a good time for people to maybe you made that New Year's resolution, you haven't done anything about it yet. So perhaps getting in touch with you is a good way to get going.
I agree. Absolutely.
So people can find you in a number of ways. You have a website.
I do. So my website is www.organizemychaos.ca or .com. I actually have both. I'm also active on social media. I'm on Facebook, Facebook, Instagram, and TikTok, actually. Yes. So those are all at Organize My Chaos.
I want to
And
tell people that you have some great tips on there too.
I do have great tips on there. I've got great videos on my TikTok, so check it out.
Excellent. And I invite everybody to check out my website too, SharonCaddy.com.
Absolutely.
Check out my social media as well. And of course, for the podcast, which you are either listening to or watching right now, it's available on all podcast platforms, also on my YouTube channel. Please subscribe. And if all else fails, go to my website, SharonCaddy.com, click podcasts, and they're all right there. Well, Suzanne, thank you so much for joining me today.
Open House with Sharon Caddy is available on most podcasting platforms and on YouTube. If you have any questions about an episode or just want to chat about real estate, visit my website at SharonCaddy.com.